Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Al-Maqsad Al-Asna fi Sharh Asma Allah Al-Husna, translated as Al-Ghazali, The 99 Beautiful Names of God, by David Bourrier and Nazi Dahr. We are on page 7 of this Islamic Text Society edition, 1992. We are on page 7, the very last paragraph after we have read during the last session about the Arabic, Persian, or Turkish languages, really, because it's not about nationality or geographies. And we said that missing from the English translation is the Zinji reference to African languages. One of the ideas about Qaswara is that it is in the Quran that originally, of course, once it is part of the Quran, it is Arabicized, but originally it's some scholars say that it is Abyssinian Habashi. So we talk about again Africa. But in Arabic we have some 240 names of the lion. Very rich language. In English you have only one name, and the female, the lioness, comes from the same source, not in Arabic. Asad and Labua, they don't come from the same source, obviously. But I did mention something about the theory that human beings got their language. That's one of the theories, from imitating nature. So mimicking the sounds, for example, and just think about the example that I've just mentioned. Asad, Arabic, for lion, and lion, really. Absolutely, there is nothing common between the two words. And the two consonants in lion talk about L and N, and the two consonants in Arabic are the S and D letter sounds, really. So there's had this theory been correct, there are very few examples compared to the rest of the language. So because I subscribe to the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did teach Adam alayhi salam the names of all things, because he did not have a social context to learn from, and had it been left to Adam alayhi salam to develop a language, and then where would the commandment, it doesn't make much sense, or not make sense at all, because the idea of Adam alayhi salam being warned against Satan without language, it doesn't work. Warned against eating from the prohibited tree without language, it doesn't make sense, at any rate. So we continue reading the bottom of page 7. So the very idea of onomatopoeia, that's really what it is, the natural sounds. Some names of birds in English would correspond to this, but not much beyond that. If you have understood this, leave aside for the time being the existence which is in individuals and in minds, and attend to existence in speech, for that pertains to our goal. So we say words consist of segmented letters posited by human choice to indicate individual things. They are divided into what is posited primarily and what is posited secondarily. What is posited primarily is like you're saying heaven, tree, man, and the like. Man here is a translation of insan, a human being. And what is positive secondary is like you're saying noun, verb, particle. Noun, verb, particle here is harf. Command, negation, and imperfect tense, of course. وأمر ونهي ومضارع. The مضارع is more of present tense. Okay, so I'll make a note if you are using the text. We have said that these are posited secondarily because the words posited to indicate things are divided into first, what indicates a meaning in something other than itself. A so is called a particle. Number two, what indicates a meaning in itself, and the letter, what indicates meaning in itself, is divided into A, what indicates the time is 2.1. Doesn't make much difference, really. What indicates the time of the existence of that meaning, and is called a verb, like you're saying he hit, he hits, or he will hit. ضرب يضرب. ضرب is past tense, obviously. يضرب is present tense. In brackets, or he will hit. Of course, that does not exist in Arabic, but of course, you might say سيضرب, but still. And B, so what indicates meaning self? Number two, what does not indicate time and is called a noun, like you're saying heaven or earth. First of all, words are posited to indicate individuals, after which nouns, verbs, and particles were posited to indicate the types of words. Because after being posited, words also became existent individuals, and their images were formed in minds and so were suited in turn to be indicated by movements of the tongue. It is conceivable that there be words posited in third and fourth place, so that when nouns are divided into types and each division is known by a name, that noun will be in the third rank, as when one says, for example, that nouns are divided into indefinite and definite, or some other division. So, what does not indicate time and is called a noun, like you're saying heaven or earth. First of all, words were posited to indicate individuals, after which nouns, verbs, and particles were posited to indicate the types of words, because after being posited, words also became existent individuals, and their images were formed in minds and so were suited in turn to be indicated by movements of the tongue. It is conceivable that there be words posited in third and fourth place, so that when nouns are divided into types and each division is known by a name, that noun will be in the third rank, as when one says, for example, that nouns are divided into indefinite and definite, or some other division. The point of all this is that you understand that the noun goes back to a word that was posited secondarily. So if one says to us, what is definition of a noun? We say it is a word posited to indicate. And we might add to that what distinguishes it from particles and verbs. The what Imam Ghazali here refers to as secondary, mm, we might say that this is a kind of a meta language. So use language to speak about language. The point of all this is that you understand that the noun goes back to a word that was posited secondarily. So if one says to us, what is the definition of a noun? We say it is a word posited to indicate, للدلالة. And we might add to that what distinguishes it from particles and verbs. At this time, our goal is not to formulate the definition precisely, but simply to show that what is intended by a name is the meaning, which is in the third rank, which belongs to speech, leaving aside what is in individuals or in minds. Now, if you understand that the name is simply the word posited for indicating, you should know that everything posited for indicating has a positor, a positing, and the thing posited. The thing posited is called the named, and it is the thing indicated insofar as it is indicated. And the positor is called a namer, while the positing is called a naming. One says that someone names his son when he posits a word indicating him, and his positing is called naming. The term naming may also be applied to mentioning the name posited, as when one calls a person saying, O Zaid. Munada, Ya Zaid. We said that he named him, but if he said, O Abu Bakr, we say he named him by his agnomen, nicknamed him. Uh, really, the Arabs تكني the Arabs تكني and not only boys, as it is very it's pretty common to be named Abu. If you are the eldest child, you might be named in this case. You might be named after your own father, so you'll become the father. So your father, let's say, is his name is Muhammad, and your first name is Ali. You'll become Abu Muhammad simply because you are the eldest son. That's really customary. You don't have to. But what I'm trying to say is that the Arabs they used to also give such honorific nickname to girls too. Okay, so sometimes it becomes even the proper name, but it's honorific. Most people seems they have dropped this Uh, Old beautiful habit, by the way, about giving these honorific names to the girls out of respect rather than using the first name. Now, if you use Abu Bakr, we say he named him by his agnomen, honorific nickname. So the term naming is common to positing the name and to mentioning it. Although it seems that positing is more deserving of it than mentioning. Naming, and named are analogous to motion, moving, mover, and moved. الحركة والتحريك والمتحرك والمحرك. So these are four. So motion, moving, mover, and moved. These are four different terms which indicate different notions. Motion indicates transition from place to place. This is why it's impossible when we speak about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the text of the hadith, for example, about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descending during the last 1/3 of the night. It's impossible. It should never cross one's mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moved from point A to point B. This is ma'iyya. This is basically, and since the last 1/3 of the night never ever ends until the end of life, end of this universe, because every single second there is the beginning of one last third of the night, because this is the way the day and the night are. And ليس كمثله شيء. Simply something to remember. So motion indicates transition from place to place, while moving refers to the initiation of the motion of this motion. And mover to the agent of the motion. While moved indicates the thing in which the motion is. The order in Arabic, the mover is the very last one, al-muharrik. Okay. It could be also one might, let me give it the benefit of the doubt, al-muharrak, but al-mutaharrik wal-muharrak, it should be the muharrik. Al-mutaharrak, al-muharrak. Al-muharrak, al-muharrik. We have movement, we have moving, we have a mover, and moved. And since there are no short, there's nothing to indicate how it is read, but I think this is the order that we have. So we have here four names. Unlike the moving one, which refers only to the place in which the motion is and not the agent. If the meanings of these terms are now clear, let us consider whether it is possible to say about them that they are the same or different from one another. This question will not be understood. This question will not be understood, however, unless one knows the meaning of different from, or other than, and same as. Our saying is the same as is used in three ways. Before moving to the example, let me try to just to consider the Arabic wording of this sentence, the previous sentence. Unless one knows the meaning of different from, أنه غيره. Okay. The Arabic words here, الغيرية والهوية, it might be translated into otherness, and while we might use it for identity, it's basically the thing in itself. So let's use the examples here and try to see whether they shed more light about الغيرية والهوية. الهوية، الغيرية والهوية. Our saying is the same as is used in three ways. One way corresponds to saying wine, خمر is wine, عقار or lion, ليث is lion, أسد. This goes for everything which is one in itself, yet has two synonymous names, whose meanings in no way differ, neither by addition or subtraction, but only in their letters. Such names are called synonymous. الوجه الأول يضاهي قول القائل الخمر هو العقار وليث هو الأسد، وهذا يجري في كل شيء، هو واحد في نفسه وله اسمان مترادفان، لا يختلف مفهومها البتة ولا يتفاوت، لا يتفاوت بزيادة أو ولا نقصان، تختلف حروفهما فقط، وأمثال هذه الأسامي تسمى مترادفة، synonymous، مترادفة. Second way corresponds to saying the sharp sword, صارم, is the sword safe? Okay. The sword made of Indian steel, muhannad, from Hind, India. Is it made from Indian steel or is it made in India? Okay. They are names of the sword itself. This differs from the first way, for these names differ in meanings, are not synonymous. Now, maybe we might say that it's just a slight difference, I would say. Sarim is basically sharp, but not only sharp, it really cuts and cuts through. Battar. So let's stick to the argument here. This differs from the first way, for these names differ in meanings and are not synonymous. Sarem refers to a sword insofar as it is cutting, but tar, this is really sometimes even the weight of it. Al-Muhannad points out the sword's relation to India, while Saif refers merely to the thing indicated with no indication of anything else. Saif. Only synonymous terms differ simply in their letters and not in any addition or subtraction. So let us call this category interlocked, since sword enters into the comprehension of the three terms, while some of them indicate something more along with it. The third way occurs when one says snow is white and cold. So that white and cold are one, and white is the same as cold. This is the more far-fetched way, since their unity is due to the unity of the subject posited with the two predicates, meaning that one individual subject is qualified by whiteness and coldness. In short, our saying it is the same as indicates a plurality which is one in some respect. For if there were no unity, one could not say it is one with, and without a plurality there would be no it is identical with, for this expression indicates two things. Let us return to our purpose and say, whoever thinks that the name is the same as the named, by analogy, with synonymous terms, as in saying wine is wine but khamr is uqar, commits a serious error. I did not really, originally I did not say anything about this, but one of the meanings of uqar could be also medicine, not that khamr is medicine. There are other words for khamr in Arabic. And by the way, the word qahwa, coffee in Arabic, in Arabic poetry, in medieval poetry, coffee is one way of referring to wine. And if you go to Lisan Arab, this is something that I've read decades ago, but for whatever reason I memorized it. القهوة من إقحاء النفس عن الطعام. So coffee would prevent you. It will suppress your appetite for food, of course. But I wonder whether they meant coffee as, the black coffee, or coffee as wine. That's That's a good question now. So let us return to our purpose and say whoever thinks that the name is the same as the name by analogy with synonymous terms, as in saying wine, khamr is wine, uqar, commits a serious error. For the meaning of named is different from the meaning of name, as we have shown that the name is a word which indicates, whereas the named is the thing indicated. Indicates, can we use signifies as in signifier, whereas the named is the thing indicated, and it may not even be a word. It's true. Signifier. Furthermore, the name is Arabic or Persian or Turkish, as posited by Arab, Persian, or Turk. And here they have dropped Zinji in the Arabic. Whereas the thing named may not be of that sort. In asking about the name, one says, what is it? But in asking about the named, one might say, who is he? Who is he? As when a person is present, we say, what is his name? And someone says, Zaid. Well, if we ask about him, one says, who is he? And if a handsome Turk is named with an Indian name, it will be said that the name is ugly, but the one named handsome. I don't know much about Indian names, but I'm not comfortable with the idea that an Indian name by definition is ugly. Or if he is named with a multi-lettered name, which is burdensome to articulate, it will be said, the name is burdensome, yet the one named is light. Furthermore, the name may be a figure of speech, but not the one named. Or the name may be changed in translation, but not the one named. All this should apprise you that the name is other than the thing named. If you ponder, you will find differences other than these, but the discerning one is satisfied with a little, and the dull-witted will only be confused by more. ولكن البصير يكفيه اليسير. It rhymes, it's beautiful. والبليد لا يزيده الكثير إلا تحيرا. Enough for this session, inshallah, and بإذن الله عز وجل we'll continue tomorrow. We are on top of page 11, and the next paragraph begins, as for the second way, and we leave it there. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.